Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Small Business Strong. My name is Maria Teresa. I'm the program coordinator for the Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. And it's super exciting to see everyone today. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin just in a moment. Please keep yourselves on mute to minimize background noise. Make sure you drop your names and your companies in the chat. During the presentation, we invite you to drop your questions in the chat, and we will call on you during the question and answer after the presentation and invite you to unmute yourselves to ask the question. We just have a few more people coming in. Keep going. Okay. And now I'd like to introduce our chair of the Small Business Council, Michael Ochoa, CEO of Transcend Health Transcend Health, LA Area Chamber of Commerce, Chamber Board Member, and our chair of our Small Business Council. Mike, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria Teresa. On behalf of the LA Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and our Small Business Council, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I have a great presentation for you. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank our very important sponsors, Wells Fargo, California GoBiz Office of Small Business Advocate, and our Together for LA partners. We could absolutely not do this without your support, and thank you for that. And now my pleasure to introduce our Small Business Strong and our workshop today, highlighted as Takeaway Marketing Overwhelm, which our guest speaker, Patty Ross with Golden State Marketing and ambassador of the LA Chamber, and also Resilient Business Advisor to the Chamber. So thank you for joining us today to share your expertise, Patty, taking away marketing overwhelm, which is something on the top of all small business owners and how we can make an impact, better impact with marketing. Welcome to Small Business Strong again, and please take it away, Patty.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Takeaway Marketing Overwhelm, Planning and Strategy. So let me start the presentation here. So first thing I'm going to ask you all to do, if you feel like sharing in the chat, is tell me what and put it all in one chat box, what your business does and who does your business help. And then also, are you business to business, business to consumer, or both? So I'll take a look at the chat throughout the presentation and see who we have in the room. I always like to know who's in here, and this will help kind of with the marketing plan to know what your business does, who your business helps, and if you're helping businesses or consumers or both of them. And just put the word both if you are both. So share away, and I'll start the presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and just, in case everybody noticed, I put myself off of video because I wildly gesticulate while I'm talking, and I don't want to distract all of you watching my hands fly all over the place. Cannot seem to stop that. So if you see me disappear, that's why. So the world of marketing definitely can be very overwhelming and confusing as for business owners as to where to go, right? Where should I spend my time and money, right? We have the traditional side, I call it offline or non-digital side, TV, radio, print ads, billboards, public relations, which can kind of be both, promotional products, all kind of that traditional offline marketing. And then you have the ever expanding digital side of things, right? We've had website for decades now, right? Internet advertising, social media, email marketing, search engine optimization, text and Wi-Fi marketing, things like retargeting or remarketing advertising, social media influencers, geofencing. So I know from speaking to many of my resilient business clients and other clients and businesses I've spoken to over the years that this is where they tend to get overwhelmed. Where should they go, right? And so this is how this kind of class was born. We all tend to meet at what I call the channels, as you'll learn during this presentation, of like, I just need to be on Instagram. I don't know why everybody tells me I should be there, but you don't really know if your clients are hanging out there or if that's where you should spend your best time and effort. So I ask everybody to back up and look at creating a plan, right? We don't want to be, we want to listen to Ben Franklin and say, if you fail to plan, you're already planning to fail. We don't want to be that customer. We don't want to be the business that kind of just throws a spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. Or do this, what we call in marketing, spray and pray, right? You kind of fling the arrows and pray that you get that bullseye. But all of these holes represent your time and money. And I know that I don't like to waste either one of those in my business, and I'm sure none of you do as well. So we don't want to be those businesses that do that, right? We want to have a plan in place. So why do you need a marketing plan? As I just mentioned, right, it maximizes your marketing budget and return on investment if you actually have a plan in place. Don't spray and pray and throw spaghetti on the wall, right? Creates consistency. So the one C word you'll hear in marketing a lot is consistency and conversion, our two favorite C words. Marketing is all about telling people what you do over and over and over again, but telling the right people, the right place at the right time, of course. And then encourages deeper thought about your business and marketing in general and beyond these crazy past 2.5 years, right, of the pandemic. Just outside of that, really, if you're already in business and doing your thing, make sure you go back and reevaluate. Do people still care about what you do? Do you need to update technology? Do things differently, hire differently? So really just looking at your plan, maybe on an annual basis, maybe now with the pandemic, maybe monthly basis, but really look at that and write things down, because that will maybe change the way you do things in a better way. And then if you have staff, of course, you always want to be walking the same walk and talking the same talk with your team and your business and marketing in general. And then it will just improve your chances of actually accomplishing your marketing goals if you write them down. So as we'll learn today. So this is my marketing strategy circle. We're going to talk about all of these a little bit more in depth, except for step number 5. Those are my fun classes, the social media, the email marketing. But today we're going to kind of back up from number 5, where I usually meet all of you when you attend my social media and email classes, and talk about steps 1 through 4, right? Setting goals, looking at how you figure out who your buyers are. That's huge. I find that one, a lot of people I talk to think I can help everybody. I can service everybody, but should really narrow that down and focus a little bit more. And then doing that SWOT analysis, looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, competitive analysis, and then your unique selling proposition, right? What makes you unique out there in the marketplace, and how do you tell people what your unique selling proposition is? And then your messaging, your story, branding, visuals, is that your brand story telling the right people, and once you know who the right people are, you can tell your brand story to them. And then number 6, we'll talk a little bit about tactical plans. So once you build a plan, how are you going to execute on that? What tools you need, your budget, best practices, who's going to do it, how are they going to do it? And then just measuring, optimize what that means, always looking under the hood and making sure that you're always looking at numbers to make sure you're getting conversion, right? And you're not wasting your money. So we'll start with each of those. So setting SMART goals. Has anybody here ever set SMART goals? Just raise your hand or put it in the chat if you have, if you're familiar with that. And thank you everybody for sharing. I appreciate that. So do we have anybody? Yes, we have at least one. So what is SMART goals? But let's talk about business versus marketing goals first. All right, so business goals tend to be those overall, right? Your sales growth, market share, maybe number of deals you're doing, your geographical reach, maybe employees, if you have employees, or employee growth, assets that you obtain, like you're going to rent or lease or buy an office or a building to do your business in. Where marketing is more about looking at how many leads you're getting, how you get your prospects engaged, maybe potentially media coverage, what channels, where you're going to do your marketing, and is it converting? Is your marketing working, right? So SMART goals, if you're not familiar with it, perfect. We're getting a couple of people in here saying they have. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And you can set SMART goals for any aspect of your business, and they can be micro goals. It doesn't have to be, one main goal for your company, but it can be smaller goals, which is better to do than trying to do one main goal, right? So I'll explain each of these. So specific, right? Not specific is I want to generate more leads. Great goal to have, but we want to be a little bit more specific. So I want to generate a greater number of qualified leads from our blog, from our sales team. So specific is from our blog, okay? Measurable is I want to grow the number of leads generated per month from our blog by 20%. So very specific, from our blog and the number by 20%, right? And then attainable is we want to grow it from 100 to 120, right? We don't. I'm a believer in some pie in the sky dreams. Shoot for the stars. But in some cases, we don't want to say, well, I'm doing 100 now, so next month we're going to do 1,000. It's a little too pie in the sky. But maybe do 100 to 120, and maybe a stretch goal of 140. Keep it realistic and attainable. Definitely, you don't want to get discouraged if it doesn't go from 100 to 1,000 by the next month. And then relevant. So in this example here, they determined that their leads that they get from their blog converts 3 times better than their leads from their pay-per-click advertising. So it's very relevant to their goal. They want to get them from their blog. They know how much they want to grow and what their goals are with it. And then setting a time. This one, I want to grow the number of leads generated per month. And again, they reiterated that because the blog converts better, but you can do time-based based on, okay, by, August 31st, I want to obtain this goal by the end of the year. Make it realistic to your timing. Like, don't say, hey, I'm going to grow all of these leads by next month and you haven't done anything yet. So really look at that realistically, but don't set it too far in the future where you just kind of forget about it until it's a month before that and you're like, oh, okay, we didn't do anything. So hopefully, any aspect of your business, definitely look at writing things down. And even if you don't do SMART goals, write the goals down. And I've learned too, write the goal, but each goal usually has steps involved. Write down the steps to get you to the end of that goal. Right. So it might, in this case for the blog, it might be that, we need to write the blogs, we need to publish the blogs, we need to get the sales teams behind the blogs, whatever those steps are, make sure you write those down, time-base those as well. So you actually achieve the goal by getting them step by step. Right. So that's step 1. Step 2, I think most important, the one step that's kind of skipped by a lot of business owners is buyer personas, right? Who is your customer? Who are your customers potentially, right? And as Seth says, everyone is not your customer. I try to tell that to my clients too. Some listen. And I always ask, are you fishing in the ocean or are you fishing in a pond, right? So many business owners say, well, yeah, I can go ahead and I help everybody. I can fish in the ocean, but it makes it a little bit tougher to do that, to narrow your focus down, narrow it down to a niche. Had a client that he could really do IT for everybody, but he determined from his client base that there are maybe 3 industries that he could look at that he could start focusing his niche on. So really start fishing in the pond. Doesn't mean you can't go back and look at other industries, but hey, exhaust the 3 that are, already the low hanging fruit, for client base. So what is a buyer persona, right? So it's basically a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So why should you create buyer personas? Well, definitely is going to meet the needs if you have various types of buyer personas. Give you a quick example. A couple of my resilient business clients, there's 2 of them actually that are very similar in their needs. They both work with the senior market, right? So you'd say, okay, well, I want to directly market to the seniors, 65 plus, but their services really also would target their children. So, say millennials and Gen X, 40-ish plus, that would be the kids of the parents that are 65 plus, in that range. 2 very different audiences. How you speak to the seniors who are the actual recipients of your services versus the ones that are going to potentially help the recipients get to those services. So definitely figuring out who those buyer personas is will help you micro segment, and then definitely appeal to them individually with better content targeted to them. So, and then hopefully figure out, okay, we now need to target seniors in one way, we need to target the kids in another, right? So how do you find data to create a buyer persona? Couple different ways. You want to carry out potentially customer interviews if you already have customers, see who they are. Insights from a sales team if you have one. And also you could gather insights from digital data, tons of information online. You might have, depending on what industry you're in, maybe there's associations, trade groups around your industry that might have data as well to show you who your target audiences are. And then market research, definitely. And then look at if there are industry players, bigger industry players out there, if there's a way to tell if they're who they're targeting for their buyers. So look at your competitors, if there are any out there, large and small, and see what they're probably could tell from their advertising or maybe their social media, how they're specifically targeting the same audience that you might have. So what do you include in a buyer persona? So not all of these will apply to all of your personas, but these are kind of some starting questions, right? First thing you're going to start with personal information. How old are they? Is there an age range? I work with, 65 plus, or, women who are 20 to 40. So you figure that out. Do they have kids? Will that matter for your product or services? Single, married, divorced, would that matter for your business? Where they're located. You might have a business that you need customers nearby. So figure that out. Income level, maybe you want somebody who's, maybe $1 million plus or 100,000 plus, or maybe you're looking for lower income potentially. So professional information, you might want to know this person is a female and she is an executive level. She's a manager of people, as opposed to somebody who's entry level in their job. Or maybe a middle manager. What are their values and fears? What's important to them when considering a product like yours? What do they value in their personal or professional life? What drives their decision making? So a few examples. What are their goals? Personal career goals? How do they prioritize those goals? So I'm going to read all of these here, but kind of give you the idea of things that you can include. Even negative information. What don't you want in a client, right? Too difficult, too expensive. They don't have enough budget. Maybe the wrong industry. So you might eliminate some potential people by looking at the negative things that you don't want in a client. So to give you some examples of what a buyer persona looks like. So this is for a rescue group, dog saying animal shelter. Now you think, well, why do they need buyer personas? But people adopt animals and sometimes they usually pay for them, right? So they are buyers. And the shelter is going to have different types of animals and people with different needs, right? If we have dogs or cats, usually dogs are a little bit more specific and breeds and what you want them. So here's one particular that a shelter could have, right? Bachelor Bryce, right? So semi-fictional representation of an ideal client. So this guy is single, age 30 to 50, lives relatively close to the shelter. He's active, happy, does a great job, but he feels a little bit lonely. He's thinking maybe he might want to get a dog in his life. His goals are to, find a companion and then also stay fit and healthy. He's active. His challenges are he loves animals, not sure if pet ownership is for him, and he doesn't even know where to begin on the dog selection process. So how can the shelter help? How can they market to him, right? Because that's the goal with this. Not just like, hey, come get a dog, right? They want to help him narrow down his choices, tell him the benefits of pet ownership, assist him with matchmaking. So, for him, he'll probably want a working dog, one that will go on hikes and work with him. He won't want the ones that you're probably hearing under my desk right now, panting. I have little pugs. Those will be lap dogs. They're toy breed, right? So probably not a Bachelor Bryce type dog here. So they could potentially have buyer personas. Family with young kids probably wouldn't want, too aggressive of a dog. So older people, maybe they're just looking for a lap dog and like those toy breeds. So this is just one potential buyer persona the shelter could come up with to market their adoptees to. Right? And another one, so this would be more business to business. And sorry if it's a little bit blurry there, but marketing Molly, right? And almost would be me. We determine generally it could be male or female, but skewed towards female. A lot of females are in the marketing world, generally age 30 to 45, college grad. So I'm overwhelmed keeping up with the demands of my boss and the team, and I'm already busy managing the existing vendor relationships I currently have in place. So this would be, say, for example, you have a software for marketing, something, let's just say like Marketo, and they're looking for potential marketing managers to talk to. So we look at who she is, right? We know she's a marketing manager. Potential titles are a CMO, director, coordinator. She might have a boss, a vice president, CEO, president. She needs to be on time and on budget. So, please sales team, impress boss, always looking for that ROI, right? Objections, our budget's already exhausted. We've been burned badly in the past by vendors. I can't manage another relationship right now. Those are pain points that I like to write, and other challenges and pain points. No way to accurately report ROI. So this is a tool potentially that this software company is looking to take her pain away. How can we help her without continuing to overwhelm her with another software, another tool that may or may not work, that's going to take up her time and energy. So how would they market to her? And generally, from business to business, looking at those pain points and marketing to her the pain points rather than a list of all the things that software can do, right? How can I make your life easier, Molly, right? And then another one here is coffee shop, right? Sarah's student, and this is quite extensive, and like, well, why would a coffee shop care? But maybe they're located near her school, and they are trying to attract these students to come in because they're close by and hang out and drink coffee and all day. And how do we appeal to them, right? So they've broken out, generally 20 years old, single, living in San Francisco. Her household income, of course, I always joke, $30,000 in San Francisco. She probably has 8 roommates and needs to get away from them and decompress. Quiet place to study away from her, maybe messy room, but 8 roommates. And what could this coffee shop do to make her life easier, right? Knowing her worries and fears that she's, definitely worrying about school debt, not even having enough time. So let's give her a nice, relaxing place to hang out, deals and coupons, a job board, order online because she has the affinity to go online, social media engagement, all that. So that's another way for them to look at it. Maybe they have other buyers. Say, what if they're in a market where it's mostly seniors? Be totally different buyer personas they're trying to reach out to, right? So the next one, hopefully that makes sense with buyer personas, but definitely take a look, and I encourage everybody really, when you're building a marketing plan and looking at who your potential buyers are, and you're likely to say, I can help everyone, really micro niche it down. Look at your existing clients and see, is there a trend? Is there particular industries? Are they coming to you for specific reasons that would make you reach out to specific groups of people? So hopefully that all makes sense there. SWOT analysis and unique selling proposition. So has anybody here done SWOT? And raise your hand if you have done some SWOT analysis on your business. So definitely encourage you to do it if you're perfect. Hi, Ina. No, a few familiar faces here in the audience. So my clients have to in the resilient business. So, but strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So encourage you to do it, redo it. Maybe every year, every 6 months. Look at things change, right? So strengths, obviously, things that your company does well. What sets you off apart from your competitors that might be an advantage. Maybe your internal resources, your staffing, and so forth. Your assets might be a strength. Opposite of that, weaknesses. What does your company lack? Things your competitors might do better than you. Do you have resource limitations? And maybe an unclear unique selling proposition. And we'll talk about that next, right? Opportunities. Maybe it's an underserved market for your specific product or services. Maybe it's fewer competitors in your area, emerging need for your products or services. That's always good. And maybe getting good press or media coverage, right? Threats, emerging competitors, maybe a changing regulatory environment, right? what's been a threat to all of us, mostly from the past 2.5 years, little thing called a pandemic. Negative press coverage, we never want to have that. Changing customer attitude towards your company, or maybe even your product or your service, that could happen as well. So an example of one, I have a restaurant client. This could almost be them. This isn't them, but it could almost be them. Strengths: excellent, well-trafficked location, good reputation among the community, has a good seasonal menu, locally sourced. Weaknesses, right? Higher costs than a comparable chain restaurant. Single location means limited reach. Definitely always a modest advertising budget. Maybe not currently using food technology apps or any technology. And then opportunities could be too, you start using technology, especially this past, COVID years. Seasonal menu keeps things fresh. And then threats, right? Intensifying competition from established chain, which probably hasn't been happening too much the past few years, because I don't think most were growing that much. Always for restaurants, regardless of a pandemic, uncertain economic environment, rising cost of ingredients. I also say staff shortages, that's still happening out there. So, and definitely as I keep updating my clients' menu online and all their delivery apps, the cost of ingredients are going up, up, and up. So evaluating those and seeing, can you turn any of these around? I know there's also TOES analysis as well. But look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats on a regular basis and see if anything has changed. Has anything become a threat or a weakness that you could flip around and make it a strength, right? And then competitor analysis, however you want to do it. This is just kind of an example of how you would lay it out. Look at top 2-3 competitors. They can be small businesses, if you're a local down the road shop that's similar to yours, or a service. It can be a bigger one. I have some clients in the program that do skincare products and body care, and they're like, should I be using Bed Bath & Beyond, or not Bed Bath & Beyond, Bath and Body Works as a competitor? I go, that could potentially be a competitor, right? So whatever things you want to analyze against your competitors, your strengths, your weaknesses, maybe it's your price points. Are you active? Are they active on social media? Do you need to change that? Do you have an onboarding experience that's better or worse than any of your competitors? Is there anything you can do against your competitors? So it's just a matter of doing the research, looking up their websites, doing, I think I had one client on here do some mystery shopping on one of their competitors to see how they do their services or what they offer, and got some information to help her set her pricing for her service. And then your unique selling proposition. So if you don't already have that, and you should, what is a unique selling proposition? Basically, we always want to be in that winning zone, right? The zone in between what your customer wants and what your brand does well, right? We don't want to be in that losing zone of what the customer wants and what your competitor does better than you, right? Risky is like, it's competitive battleground, not really sure if there's much going on there. And then the kind of who cares, there's nobody's really caring about what you do. There's maybe not a need for it. You might think, oh, I really need this service or product, but does anybody else? So I always want to be in that winning zone with your unique selling proposition. So I'll show some examples. So if you're not familiar with Bombas, Bombas used to be just socks. Now it's socks and t-shirts. And what makes them unique, because there's a lot of socks and t-shirts out there, is for every item you purchase, they donate an item to someone affected by homelessness. Okay, so if you're not familiar with them, here's one of their items: box of tie-dye merino wool socks. And you purchase these, and one purchase, one donated, which I actually found out they don't donate a 4-pack of tie-dye socks, but they donate some socks. So this won't appeal to everybody, right? Not everybody is going to be Bombas customers. Not everybody's going to spend $78 for 4 pairs of socks. I'm sure they're gorgeous, and I don't know, technology wise, if there's anything different. The buyers who are typically buying their 10 packs of gym socks at Target for $12 are not going to potentially be a Bombas customer. The ones that are into causal marketing, that want to support, people affected by homelessness, and while they're making a purchase, I think there's a couple other brands that do the same thing out there. I think Tom's Shoes does that as well. So again, they are for specific. It's not really the socks that are unique. There's hundreds and thousands of pairs of socks out there. It's what they're doing, what their brand mission is, right? So I think they're sharing these slides, so you don't have to worry. I think about screenshotting, and we'll make sure you share these, but these are just some things to consider when you're looking at your unique selling proposition and creating that. Okay, so don't have to be all of these, but could be what distinctives compared with other providers. How are you different from your closest competitor? Do you excel in quality? What services you offer are better than them? Do you have a specific niche? What physical needs do you meet? Emotional or spiritual needs? You know, how do you meet these needs in a special way, right? Do you have demographic distinctives? Do you offer a certain geographic radius, particular age group, gender, income level, maybe a secondary demographic? Service distinctives. Do you go the extra mile compared to competitors? Perhaps maybe you have a 24/7 toll-free hotline. They can reach you anytime, day or night, email. Feels like that in today's age, right? We're 24/7. Do you offer any advice or technical support? What is it that makes you different? Do you offer any special deals or incentives for your product or service? A couple more. Your track record. How long have you been in business? You know, that may make a difference between somebody, you know, there's a restaurant, everybody knows Dora. I always use Dora as an example from Yuca's Tacos, right? They've been in business almost 50 years now in Los Angeles, in a competitive restaurant environment and a competitive, say, Mexican food environment. But what, you know, having 46 years, doing something right for, I think it's 46, 47 years, doing something right out there. In fact, Dora was in a buyer persona class with me, and we were talking about unique selling propositions, and she says, you know, I never mentioned this, but Oprah, you know, when she had her favorite things, one of her favorite things is one of their burritos. And I said, you don't mention that? So I think after that, she did mention that I forgot which burrito it is, but one of their burritos is Oprah's favorite things. That can be a unique selling proposition. Other than also they've been in business for now almost 50 years here in Los Angeles, right? So those are some unique selling propositions. Some examples here, we're probably all familiar with these, right? Avis, we're number 2, we try harder. This would have been more Federal Express. Remember back in the day when they started out and they were only overnight? Remember when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight? That was a unique selling proposition for them back then because there was nobody else at that time offering only overnight services, right? Now FedEx offers everything ground up, right? Domino's, fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, right? So I don't think they offer that any longer, but that was the unique selling proposition. We're going to give it to you free if we can't get to you in 30 minutes. That wasn't promised by any other pizza companies at that time. Right. So just a few more. Shopify, the platform commerce is built on. M&M's, melts in your mouth, not in your hand. HelloFresh is one of the frozen meal kit companies, America's most popular meal kit. So coming up with your unique selling proposition, similar to these. And then your brand story. So what is that exactly? What is your story? And why do you need a brand story, right? So basically, especially small businesses, right? Just Tide or my chapstick company or who makes your Tide Pods or whatever, do they need a brand story? Small business owners, people connect with people. They want to know your story. They become loyal to people, of course, so they hopefully become loyal to your product or service, but they really want to know who you are and what sets you apart from other businesses and competitors out there, right? The bigger brands, they have brand recognition. We don't. So you want to tell your story so they can connect with you and therefore connect with your product, right? And everything you do crafts your story. Everything you do to communicate with your customer, whether it's your website, your social media platforms, your brochures, your delivery vans, your staff uniforms, all of that tells your story. So you want to make sure you're consistent across all of those platforms, right? And of course, always tell the truth, not like that. And these are just some things for you to think about. Again, we'll hopefully get the slides and you can review these later, but think about why was your brand created? What are your brand core values? How will your brand live up to them? So things to think about just as you're creating a marketing plan, think about why is it that you did this? What made you decide to make this widget or do this particular service? And what are your values? This will help kind of build those unique selling propositions when you start thinking about your brand fundamentals, right? And then of course, brand visuals, always important to have, be telling the right story with your images to the right people, right? So this is Janet. I know her, she's a life coach, and using a perfectly lovely picture.
I don't see where it's saved in my camera roll.
Oh, like somebody's off of mute there. Hopefully everybody's seen the presentation, but so Janet, came to a brand photographer and said she needed updated pictures. Again, she's a life coach and wanted to kind of show her ideal audience who she is and to work with her. So the brand photographer that I'm familiar with and work with kind of zhuzhed her up a little bit after pictures, looks more like she looks now, and wanted to just speak to her ideal audience, not only of a beautiful headshot, but also show her as somebody like I can imagine myself sitting across the couch telling her my life problems, right? As opposed to, I joke with Janet, I'm like my old headshot, it looked like, a banker's headshot, or you're a real estate agent and had a headshot, but it didn't necessarily speak to her ideal clients, right? Or here's Marcy Jean. She wanted to sell professional and playful, right? See, very, very playful personality based on her pictures, but hey, she also is a hair and skin specialist, right? Here's Vinny. He's a real estate broker up in Pismo Beach, not a bad place to sell a property, but he, typical real estate broker pictures, right? Holding the open house, the keys, but he also wants to say, I'm just not selling a home, I'm selling a lifestyle. Come up here and you're going to have 300 wineries in your backyard. You can sit on the hotel balcony, eating a gourmet meal, looking at the beautiful Central Coast. So again, this is telling more of a story of what he's doing, who he's selling to, right? Who he's going to appeal to. And of course, for businesses, you want to share the details of your business. A winery client of mine, show the vineyards, the grapes, the wine, et cetera, as usual. Beautiful product shots as well. You need that for marketing purposes. Share the benefits. What happens when you come to this winery? Get to have food and party and sing and all that. These are event pictures, right? Pete, what happens when you come there? How's it going to make you feel when you come there, right? You can have a good time. Tuxedo crooner is not an everyday thing. That was for a party. And then the people, who's behind this business? This is who they connect with. In the Central Coast, where I lived just before I moved back to LA, it's like there's 250 wineries and, literally in your backyard, you have competitors, direct competitors, right? You all have grape juice, and everybody's subjective at what juice they like, but it's these people that they connect with, the owners, Cheryl and Randy, the Tiffany, the tasting manager for 14, 15 years. This is who they connect with and love the wine as well, right? And then once you have all these great graphics, you can do a lot of things with them, right? Do your marketing, your social media, your marketing materials and all of that. So you want to make sure you have good quality branding video as well. You want to have good video content because that's very popular, especially social media. So don't skip on that. And these are just a couple brands I always, whether you love or hate Apple or Starbucks, but what can these two brands help you with, right? Whether both of these brands are global, so you can go to an Apple store here in Los Angeles, you can go to an Apple store in Hong Kong or Paris, France. Same with Starbucks, right? Go to your local shop, go to Paris, go to Hong Kong. What do they have in common, right? Wherever you go, other than language is going to be a little different. Maybe, they don't have an Americana in Paris, but consistency, right? Brand consistency. Wherever you go, you're going to have pretty much the same experience across the board, right? We're not global brands, but we can be consistent with our marketing. And I always say, get to the hand raise. Some of my clients who are in the room will understand what I mean by this. So I always talk about when you're talking to people, whether you're going to meet them at a mixer or you're potentially talking to an ideal client, what you do, what you convey, you do. I'm going to give you two examples, and I know we going short on time, but I always ask for, I'm going to give you option A or option B. Okay. So I'm going to give you my state pitch, right? If we met at a networking event and I gave you option A or option B, I want to tell you which one is going to get to the hand raise. Like, yes, I'm that person. Okay. So here's option A. It's like, I'm Patty with Golden State Marketing. I help businesses with marketing. I offer services like social media, email marketing, website development, public relations, promotional products, and marketing strategy. Okay, that's A. Okay, so the second one, B, is hi, I'm Patty with Golden State Marketing, and I am hired by busy business owners who wear so many hats. Their marketing gets put on the back burner, and all they really want is strategic, focused marketing that actually grows their business. So pick A or B. Which one would say, yes, I need you. I'm that person. Got the B's. Okay, so keep your B. So if you see the difference, right? The first one, I'm like, here's my laundry list of services, right? Great, you know all the things I do, but most of my clients don't care. They want me to solve their pain, and their pain is, I have all these hats piled on my head, right? I hate doing social media. I can't get it done consistently. Can you take this hat off my head, Patty? As opposed, and generally they don't care if I do it via social media or email, or I fly a balloon up in the air with their name on it, as long as I don't do anything illegal or over their budget. As long as I accomplish that pain point goal, right, of consistent focused marketing that actually grows their business. So when you think about that, when you're crafting your message, when you're talking to people about what you do, and this will help people easily refer you if they hear like, oh yeah, you know, I know somebody, they're struggling with their marketing. She's so busy with everything running her business, she's just not able to do it all. As opposed to, you're here, you know, somebody needs marketing, social media, email, they probably don't know what they need, right? So think of the pain you're solving, as opposed to, I don't know if he's in the room, Stephen, we talked about this, he's IT, and you know, I do cybersecurity, I help people with slow computers and all of the things an IT person does. And I said, no, you're selling peace of mind, right? You're going to fix their computers, you're going to make sure they're secure, all of that. Yes, you're going to do all that, and they don't generally probably care as long as you fix it and give them that peace of mind. Okay. So I know, let's see, Andrew, let me know how much time I have. I just want to make sure I cover everything here as well. I get maybe like 5 or so more, 10 more minutes, I think.
A few more minutes, Patty, and then we'll go into Q&A.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. I want to make sure you guys see the calendar. So just having a tactical plan in place, having that strategy. Can you do this yourself? Do you need a team? Do you need to hire an outside agency? What tools do you need, right? A budget, you know, figuring out how much you need to have. You should have a budget before you do your, you know, you don't wait till you do make sales to have a marketing budget. You need a marketing budget to have sales. So figure out whatever on a spreadsheet, whatever, how that works, how you need to spend your money on marketing. And generally your marketing expenses are direct selling costs, advertising, sales, marketing, administration, staffing, training, subscriptions, things like that. And tools you'll need if you're going to do it yourself. Like I have all these tools I work with my clients, but if you're going to do it yourself, generally you're going to need a CRM, client relationship manager tool, email marketing tools out there, social media publishing tools, search engine optimization, potentially calendar and scheduling to make it easy to set appointments with your clients, potentially sales tools, right? For lead funnels, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, graphic design tools, Canva, productivity tools. So these are just a few examples of tools. I'm not saying these are it, but these are just the different types of tools you want to consider if you're going to be doing your own marketing out there. And then calendar, I'll try to go through this real quick, Andrew, because this is kind of the meat of the presentation. I don't want anybody to miss it. So this is where I find most of you get overwhelmed, right? I don't know what to post. I don't know, you know, what I should email out. You know, you just have it all floating in your head with all the millions of other things a small business owner has. So if you put it down on paper, and you're going to get a link in the dropped in the chat to download my calendar. If you want to use it, it's a simple Excel file. You can convert it to Google Doc or Google Sheets as well. But getting it all out on paper and planned out will help you get some social media out there on a regular basis. Plan ahead. Plan as far ahead as possible for coming year. Start planning in October for 2023. Okay. Use it for archive purposes as well. So I'm going to show you the different pages real quick. I know we're running short on time. And then you'll get to download it and use it. I know my clients already know how to use my calendar, but you'll get this is again, it's Excel sheet. You'll have some tabs. There'll be some hashtag days to use for content on there. You'll also have some content ideas page on there for different things. It's all about being consistent on social media, especially as email as well, but social media, you want to get as much reach as possible, and you only do that by getting engagement, and you only get that if you post on a regular basis. Okay. You'll get an idea for a page with video content ideas as well to potentially use. And then national holidays. There's a lot of fun holidays that may or may not be directly related to your business, but for content ideas as well. Okay. Don't have much time to go into this, but I wanted to show you the calendar. Easy to use, color coded. You want to lay out on the calendar your email campaigns, the holidays you're going to promote, your social media posts. And when it comes to social, I'll just explain social media. You're going to have basically 2 lines of blue per post. You're going to have what type of post on the first line of blue, and on the second line of blue, you're going to have the more particular of what you're going to post on those days. So once you lay out the calendar, and you'll get the calendar, you'll download it, you'll be able to easily lay out and plan ahead your social media and your email campaigns. As you can see here in orange, we schedule out our email campaigns as well. So this quick version of it, B2B clients use the exact same client, just going to be different types of content on there, but you use it in the exact same way. Okay. And once you coordinate it on a calendar, you can easily coordinate your graphics and your content for email and social media. Okay. And then just last, quickly, measuring, optimize. Make sure you look under the hood. Look at your Google Analytics, your Instagram, Facebook Analytics, YouTube, whatever it is that you're doing, email marketing analytics as well, to make sure all of this is working. And change course if you need to, if it's not working. Okay. So that is it. I'll skip the tools so we can go on to questions and answers. So I'll stop right here since we're short on time. So I will, let me see, I'm just going to quickly go past this and get to Kevin's slide. Oops, hold on one sec. Can't never go past that slide. There we go. So those are a couple tools that I use, social media publishing tools, and we'll go to questions. So I'll pass it over to Kevin from here.
Great, thank you so much. Just enormously helpful information. We had a question in the chat, and let me just please remind you, if you do have questions, to put them in the chat, and we can talk about them. Looking at some of the content, we can specifically talk about the SWOT analysis. Some of this bleeds into a business strategy. It bleeds into asking the questions on, what are you going to be when you grow up? How do I need to change my business? So if you start looking at target audiences and you really start doing this, it changes kind of what you're solving for. So marketing might lead into something that's much, much bigger than, my social media. It may lead into, am I doing the right products and services to the right customers? So can you share a little bit on what you've seen, and then how do you address that issue when it starts to get into something much larger?
Yeah, an example, I won't give specifics, so I won't call anybody out, but a client I'm working with, and we're looking at a service that he wants to offer. And once you start breaking down, like, well, who would you use this service for? Who would you market it to? After a long discussion about that, we're determining, is this really something that anybody wants? And we actually figured out a potential buyer persona audience. And then I said, oh, I know a couple of those. It was event planners. I went to the event planners. I go, what are you using to do this? And she said, oh, I'm making it up myself. And like, well, that kills the idea of this particular service. So it really does make you think beyond, like, we always think like, well, hey, I think this is cool, or I like it, or my friends do it. But beyond that, once you look at even buyer personas, you can kind of narrow it down to, is this anything anybody wants? Or do I need to narrow the audience or change the audience? Going back to that example of the seniors, like, well, oh, 65 plus, but maybe you really need to talk to the kids more than the seniors, especially social media. So hopefully that answers that question. So
it does kind of go back and forth in terms of business strategy to marketing, back to business strategy to marketing, then it sounds like.
Yes, definitely.
Great. You talked about measuring success and KPIs. A lot of what you're talking about is really kind of a deep dive, right? A thorough understanding. So can you talk a little bit about what's the right data points to measure in success, and even maybe start with your recommendation on research? How do you get that information? And then how do you measure success? So that's kind of a two-part question.
Yeah, so going to the measure success, so because I didn't go deep into that, but on my social media class, I always mention that as one of the social media mistakes. We always tend to measure just the vanity numbers. We're just looking at, oh, I have 10,000 followers on Instagram, or how do I get to 10,000 followers? But we don't look under the hood and say, are they converting? Are they doing anything? Are they reaching out? Are they engaging in any way? Because it's great, sure, brag to your friends you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, but if they're not doing anything for you, then what's the point? So it's really looking beyond that, looking at all the analytics on a monthly basis and seeing, great, okay, we're getting more followers. Are they connecting to us? Are they going to your website and visiting? On Google Analytics tells you what's going on in your website, who's referring traffic, how people are using your website, where they're hanging out. So those are places to measure for success. Yes, and definitely that vanity numbers are good, but we need to go beyond that, and what's happening with them. So, and then the other part of your question was about, sorry, I'm blanking out.
Measuring success.
Measuring success. Yeah, that's basically, overall measuring success is like conversion. Marketing, we always want to know about conversion, right? It's great. We send out an email. I worked for a credit union, and I was the email marketing manager, and they had 23 branches. And so if we send out an auto loan refi offer, they could go to the branch, they could call the loan department. And I think that was the only product they could do online, was an online loan application. So but there was no like, put it in a shopping cart, buy it, and then you have from start to finish. So we had to look up conversion, like, okay, well, how many auto loan refis were processed just after we sent the email out in the branches, in the loan department? So we can then say, yeah, that's attributed to our email campaign. It was like cause and effect of, we send out an email, but the branches are also, advertising and encouraging auto refis. But that's what we're always looking for, is what we're doing working, and do we need to change course in any way?
Mm-hmm. That's great. Now, I've got a friend, it's not me, it's really not me, that focuses on vanity measures quite a bit. But again, it's not me, it's a friend. Can you tell me, you provided so much information here, and I guess the question is, starting with the plan, really, how do you take an incremental step, right? So how do you start the process? This is a very thorough and diligent process. So can you say, how do I just get started? What if I'm not ready to go in full bore and do the marketing plan? Or how do I just take the first step in the journey on this process, given all the work that can be done? What would be the first thing that you'd recommend that the folks on the line here to do to get started?
Yeah, like I always say, if you skip everything, the calendar definitely is one place, even though I'm saying, yeah, you can skip all the other stuff. But if you start, like, I just need to get my social media out there, do email. If you don't really know who your audience is, it's kind of hard, but the calendar at least will help with that overwhelm of just figuring out, like, okay, I need to be consistent and get the marketing done. But really, I think the buyer personas, because again, and that can tie back to business, that can really reveal a lot. Right there is like, if you sit down and really figure out who are your ideal clients, or potentially just one client, then all the rest can kind of fall into place. There's still more details they have to work out, pricing and promotion and all the steps of marketing. But I think that's the one thing that can translate across the board is, and really look at it, then you'll say, okay, how many, like, yeah, I only want environmental engineers who live in the state of Washington, who are men, who wear blue, it's like, how many of those are out there? Then it'll kind of narrow it down. Like, I might have a product or service that there's only a handful of people, like I think a Shark Tank, when I watch that and they say, sounds like a great product, but it sounds like there's probably only 5 people besides you who's going to want that product, right? So I think that's I think the most revealing is the buyer personas, if they just focus on that. And not, like to do all of it, but I think if they do that, and that will also help with their maybe unique selling proposition, if they know who to target that message to. So.
Great. So what you're saying is get really focused on the buyer persona, who your target audience is, and then also kind of use a calendar to kind of balance and ensure consistency and timeliness in whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Perfect.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate everyone adding their questions in the chat. I'm just going to ask one more question, and it's going to lead to the next slide, which is, okay, how do we get help?
Yeah.
And look at this right here. So one of the things that the Chamber does is we do have a business advising program, and it's one-on-one access to various resources. You can learn about marketing strategy, which is just what we talked about, health and safety protocols, understanding contracts. And so we do have this business advising program. And Andrea, I'll ask you if you get a chance, if you can, before we're finished, put the link in the chat so that we can have that and you can see that. So this program here is exactly for this purpose, so that you can kind of see what great resources that we have, and really some very easy ways to get started. I mean, having, you know, Patty is, and the great knowledge she brings is such an advantage for us. So we certainly want to encourage you to take advantage of that, and we'll get a link in the chat. So thank you. And then let's go to the next slide if we can. So excuse me, next August 9th, we're going to have our Small Business Council. And in our Small Business Council, we will go through just kind of an update. We're talking about some of the legislation that's going on right now, and there'll be some additional programming that we'll want to share with you, and including access to these types of programs as well. So we want to make you put that date down on your calendar so we can do that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And finally, we want to thank our sponsors. So the California Office of Small Business Advocate, one of those, Wells Fargo, as well as our other partners. So we're very fortunate at the Chamber of Commerce that we have excellent partners that are committed to helping small businesses in the Los Angeles region like you to help grow your businesses and provide the resources that are necessary. So we do want to call them out and thank them. And finally, let me thank our speaker today, Patty. You did an excellent job, and really it's been so insightful to hear that. And again, some of this was, at least for me anyway, I'm like, SWOT, I know about that. And then it's like, oh, wait a second, I need to take a look at that. So I can tell you for myself, I really learned a lot. And then finally, I want to draw everyone to the chat. Thank you, Andrea, for putting that in. You'll see the link for goldenstatemarketing.net, Small Business Strong. Go into the chat right there and click that link. And then you can certainly ask for Patty and others if you need to. So thank you very, very much. We're really grateful for you guys to spend your time with us today. We hope this was valuable. And then you'll be getting a link to the slides here in a bit. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, everyone.